everyone. Welcome to the MsTexasShow with your co-host, Elena Georgiou. And excited as always to bring you another edition of our show and another wonderful, wonderful guest. And that guest is Rasika, and she graduated with an honors degree in psychology from York University, Toronto. And her career is in human rights, particularly in the field of sexual and gender-based violence prevention and survivor support. And we're going to talk about sexual and gender-based violence prevention and survivor support. We're super excited to have Rasika with us today to tell us more about her story, her journey, and all the wonderful things she has done, and the wonderful ways she helps others. So with that, we will have Rasika on the show. So we look forward to having her and talking with all of you.
The Ms. Texas Show is a voice of hope for victims, survivors, advocates, and community leaders against gender-based violence to share their stories and resources. We began showcasing life in Texas. Today we are impacting lives not only in Texas, but also around the world. Under our segment Military Time, we run this segment in partnership with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We invite military and veterans who have overcome traumatic events to share their experiences during and after their military service. Under our beauty segment, we invite fellow pageant winners and contestants, artists, musicians, actors, models, and dancers, and last but not least, our survivor leaders from family violence, sex trafficking, sexual assault, stalking, and other traumatic events, who are ambassadors for these causes to share their lives and the impact they have made. To become a guest on our show, email us at MsUSATexas@gmail.com. If you would like to support victims and survivors of gender-based violence, make a tax-deductible donation to Hope Picks Global at www.hopeyxglobal.org.
Hello again, and welcome to the Ms. Texas Show. As always, we're not only excited to have another great conversation, but another incredible guest. So our guest today is no less of an honor and pleasure. So we have Rasika with us today, and she has worked in organizations like Gender Security Projects and Women at the Center, and she has received training from York University. She's pursuing the Changemakers Lab Fellowship with World Pulse, and apart from spending time with friends and family, you can find her writing, reading, dancing, singing, or sketching. So we're super excited to have you here with us today and super honored. And you have definitely had a tremendous journey and a lot of experiences. And you have done so much to help so many others. So Rasika, if you could, let our viewers know about yourself, who you are, a little bit about your journey, and more about you.
Thank you so much, Irina, for that beautiful, wonderful introduction for me. I am extremely honored and blessed to be on this show. Honestly, I truly, truly mean it. Thank you for giving me the space to speak about my experiences. It's truly a wonderful platform and good, amazing work that you're doing. So a little bit about me, as you mentioned in my bio, I am a psychology graduate. I did a few years of learning here in Chennai, India, where I grew up for the majority of my life. I then moved to Toronto for a year to pursue an honors degree in psychology and hopefully a master's degree as well, which didn't fall through, but that's fine. I feel like I still chose a career choice that I'm really passionate about. Growing up here in India was very significant for me in terms of the profession I chose right now and later on. Because since a very young age, even though I didn't understand it to the depth at the time, I had observed and heard of so many instances of many forms of gender-based violence. Because I was young, I couldn't put a name to it. I couldn't put a name to my friend who was stalked, or I couldn't put a name to that creepy security guard in my friend's building who would do harmful things to children. These things I would hear and observe, but it was only later on that I understood that these are violations that we're talking about. It took me many experiences of my own in terms of pursuing various internships in the field of psychology, um, to sort of understand that this is a problem in my society. This is a problem in my nation, in around the globe, and something needs to be done about it. So I understood at a very early stage that psychology is focused on treating the aftermath. That is, once a violation has taken place, it gives trauma to the survivor who has survived that incident. So to me, I decided that I wanted to focus on the cause itself. Let's cut the problem where it starts rather than allow it to go to an extent where people do feel traumatized. And that's when my focus and perspective started to shift, and started to focus on internships, like the gender security project, like Women at the Center. I volunteered in Toronto. And all these focused on gender-based violence prevention. And the work that I did there was extremely enlightening. I worked with such amazing, incredible people like Kirti Jayakumar, who is still my mentor today. She's an amazing ambassador on World Pulse. Just so many people on World Pulse itself who are just so inspiring on a daily basis, and they really help you focus on the things that need to be focused on in the space of sexual and gender-based violence. Now, during the time of me deciding to shift gears a bit and rather just continue to do internships for other people, I decided that I wanted to start my own organization and start my own, path in the same field. And during that time, I myself experienced a very unfortunate incident with someone who I trusted a lot. I trusted with my life. This person was a best friend I'd known for about, since childhood actually. We'd known each other well for 8 long years. When this event happened, it happened in 2022, which was not so long ago. It shattered me to a degree where I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And apart from that, it was just a moment where part of you really breaks. A part of me really broke that the day whatever happened. I don't want to go into the details. I will be a little too gruesome, but I learned a lot from that experience. It took a lot of time for me to come out of it, to overcome it. I couldn't have done it without the help of family members, doctors, friends. I am so very grateful for them today. But I finally understood how important it is to start an organization and have lived experience. It is so important to be asking survivors about their experiences, obviously with their consent. But also to engage in these conversations with survivors to know what they want, to ensure that systems and support services in place are survivor-centric. And during my experience of overcoming this trauma, I also understood the lack of awareness that exists in my community about the resources that do exist. For example, if I needed a lawyer, I had no idea where to go. If I needed a good therapist, I had nowhere to go. I didn't know who to go to. I didn't know who to call, who to ask that number for, and what does therapy look like? How does talking to a lawyer look like? Like, no one teaches you these things in school. And these are very important conversations to be having. So I decided when I started feeling a little better, I needed to bridge that gap. If not for anyone else, at least for my satisfaction and my mental peace. Of course, I knew that it would probably help one person at least in the future, but I really just wanted to do something about it. It was driving me crazy that this is the way of things in my community. So I joined World Pulse and I started this project called the Niti Project. Niti means justice in several Indian languages. And the essence of my project was to provide justice to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, while also focusing on perpetrator reform and accountability. So this is a digital platform that focuses on providing information to survivors, providing resources to survivors, and normalizing the various states of mind that survivors may undergo. You know, because psychology is such an important topic as well that we need to be discussing with survivors that I feel isn't spoken as much about in public. Awareness does need to be raised in amongst these subjects. So that is one aspect of my project. The other aspect is to collect data from survivors so that we can convert the systems and services in place into a more survivor oriented um, environment, because that is extremely important. We don't want to be re-traumatizing the survivors in any way through the support and services we provide. So I felt that was also extremely crucial to ask survivors, because they are the ones with lived experiences, and nothing can replace lived experience at the end of the day. They're the ones with first-hand knowledge on navigating through various systems and support services, and nothing can replace that. So this is the basic gist of what I've been doing. Currently, the project is getting transformed into an organization. So that is going to be the next milestone, I would say, in my journey in this sphere of gender-based violence prevention. So that's a bit about me. I know I spoke a lot, but yes.
No, you didn't. You can speak as much as you can, and I'm really impressed. And it's incredible all the work that you've done. And gender inequality and discrimination are the root cause and consequence of violence against girls and young women. But unfortunately, no country in the world has achieved gender equality. Instead, violence has a culture of silence surrounding it. And everyone has a role to play in ending violence against girls and women, and violence has to stop here and now, not tomorrow, but today. Sexual and gender-based violence has to stop, and children and women have to be protected. And survivors, you have my support and Rasika's support also. And back to you, Rasika, to ask you a few questions about how do you feel advocating for
Absolutely.
sexual and gender-based violence? How are you feeling this?
To be
Your
honest,
projects
Arena, uh, I feel extremely driven at this point. I would say it is a very difficult, I would be lying if I said it's a very easy job, you know, you feel driven every single day, motivation. I mean, it does exist in, at least for me, but there are certain days where the topics you encounter and the stories you listen to can be very heart-wrenching and very difficult to process. These are not easy conversations to be having, and in no way do I mean that it's an easy task, but it's exactly that drives me to knowing that there is someone out there who probably needs the resources or needs that help and is suffering in some way, be it emotionally, physically, you know, it can be any sort of abuse that they're experiencing. Just having that knowledge is what drives me. And doing that is empowering in its own way, I would say. So I hope that answered your question. Today I feel extremely driven and motivated to continue doing the work that I do.
And what led you to create this organization? It's because of your happening, or what inspired you to create this specific organization to give out resources to survivors and advocating for them?
Great question. Thank you for asking me. I think, as I mentioned when I was narrating my story, it was honestly all the narratives that I'd heard since childhood, since when I was a teen, and my own experience of having confronted harassment, sexual harassment from a very close person, um, was the basic primary inspiration to starting my organization, because I had kind of was able to observe the gaps that do exist in my community, and I was like, let me fill this gap. Why, rather than just sitting and asking other people to do so or complaining, I didn't want that. I didn't want to be the person who just complains about things and doesn't take action into her own hands. And I thought, okay, let's just do this myself. Why not? And that was the main inspiration to start. I've heard so many stories. I so many people close to me have gone through horrendous experiences that they never should have. Um, yeah, just I also, another reason was because I just wanted more kindness in this world. I feel like if you go to the news channel today, there's just so much hate, hatred, hate news spreading, even on social media, but no one really speaks enough about kindness. And I feel like through my initiative, I do want to emphasize on compassion and kindness, because that's really something we need in this world.
It does. It's needed, of course. Have you faced any challenges in during your creation of your organization, or anything you want to share?
I think the major challenge is patience. I think I feel like I have a lot of self-learning to do in the process. Uh, you know, knowing that there's so much violations and violence that still occur in my community or in the world at large. Sometimes it gets to me that, oh, why isn't the work I'm doing enough? Why am I doing enough? And there's a lot of self-questioning and self-doubt. Um, I think I've been my own major herd. I could say that. But at the same time, I'm learning. I'm learning to be more patient. I'm learning to be more self-compassionate and say that you're human. You can do mistakes. You are allowed to do mistakes. And try to make others who feel the same way and tell them the same thing, because it's important. Self-care is extremely important in this field. If you're not going to care about yourself, you're not going to be able to help others to the extent that you can. So that is one major takeaway for me. Apart from that, I've been very fortunate enough to not, at the moment, not experience that much external risk. I think that's also because my initiative hasn't expanded into an organization. I think once it is a proper, solid, formal organization, there will be definitely risks to take on. But I'm prepared for that mentally, physically. I hope I do have external support, friends, family. So World Pulse is there. So yeah, I'm ready to take it on, I would say. Yeah.
Well, you're worthy, you're enough, and you're loved. And your initiative is great. I love it. I'm impressed. So I want you to know that. And do
Thank you.
continue doing your work, because it's much needed. And a lot of people are going to benefit from your work. So yes, go through and do your organization. I'm with you 100%, Rasika. And don't stop. And
Thank you.
do you have any other plans to expand? I mean, instead of only resources, maybe giving out training to survivors. Do you have any plans to do that? Or any other future plans you're
Absolutely. I feel Yeah, one major aspect and plan that I do have, which has not been executed now because the organization is just starting. It's the project itself is at its most basic stage. But one thing that I would really like to focus on is perpetrator accountability and reform. I feel like we do focus a lot on survivors, and at least my nation is doing great things in terms of the government is very supportive of these sort of initiatives, and we're very blessed that way. But one thing I feel like is not as much discussed or spoken about or focused on is actually trying to work with perpetrators so that when they are released from whatever it be, like from jail or imprisonment or probation, um, so that they don't reoffend, that they learn that what they're doing and their behaviors is harmful to society. Because to me, that is a very good way to prevent violence rather than always teaching the survivor to do self-defense or um, learn karate or martial arts or something so that they are constantly vigilant. Why not try and train the person who is perpetrating that harm to not do that, so that is one major focus that I would like to focus on, and that would require training the perpetrator rather than the survivor, right? So yeah.
I agree with you because there are a lot of trainings for survivors and we don't see anywhere for perpetrators. So they need training also because let's say he gets out of jail or maybe he's in a marriage and get divorced and leaves, that house that he's living with the victim. Then what happens is he's going to find another victim and
Yeah,
this is going to continue. And that's a very good plan
exactly.
to have. And I think it's a good plan, and I haven't heard it before, but this is a good way to, yeah, to heal the whole situation because it's not only the victim, we have the perpetrator also. So yes, that's a good plan. So I wanted to
Thank
ask
you.
you about trauma. If trauma causes us to disconnect from ourselves, is there a way that your organization will help survivors into this kind of situation? Because you said it was kind of hard for you to find a lawyer, to find a place,
Yeah,
therapy. Yeah. What about this?
absolutely. Um, yeah, for now, my organization isn't one-on-one dealing with survivors. We are sort of, at the moment, the intermediary. We are sort of connecting the survivor to someone who is trauma informed. For example, a lawyer or a medical practitioner, or, because at this point we do not have the resources nor the funding to provide those professions or those jobs to the survivor by ourselves. And I feel like we can provide so many more resources to choose from for the survivor by acting as that intermediary. So for now, we are not heads on dealing with trauma, but what my initiative does do is it's almost like a blog platform. So we write many articles on various states of mind that normalize trauma, because I feel like as a community, because we don't talk about trauma as much, we don't normalize the kind of stages or the phases that a survivor goes through. It's not a one-way street. There are so many individual differences in the way Every single survivor goes through trauma, different for each person. So to tell the survivor that what you're going through is okay, is something that is needed online, on the internet. And we are trying to do that through the Niti project and subsequent organization that it will be developing into, is to put write-ups out there that if you're going through this particular reason trauma, that's okay. If you're going through something else, that is okay too. So there is a lot of discussion around trauma and its various facets. But to answer your question, no, we're not directly dealing as of now one-on-one with survivors and trauma. Yeah.
Okay. How can people reach out to you?
Oh, just email.
Email. Okay.
Yeah, email.
You can share.
I mean, the
Yes, go
sorry,
on. Go
you
on.
got cut out there.
I was going to say, we
No,
can
I
share.
was just saying, yeah, absolutely. I can provide you with my contact details. I would be more than happy for people to reach out. I love having conversations with anyone who's open to it. So more than happy to provide my contact details. Email is my primary communication source in terms of my professional life. But yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we can put your contacts when we finish this show, so people can come into contact with you and maybe
Absolutely.
funders
Yeah.
for your project. And what message do you want to share with the world, Rasika?
Two things, if I may. First thing is, if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? This is something that I heard when I was in my teens. It was a part of um, Emma Watson, who I still am a big Harry Potter fan. And Emma Watson was my favorite actor growing up. She still is. And she said this, she's a feminist and global leader, and she said this in her UN speech, I believe, to promote the He for She campaign. And it essentially means that, take control. If you want change, take control and do something about it, to put it quite bluntly. Be the change you want to see. So that's something I really live by and I really resonated with. The second thing that I would like to say is smile bright and be kind, because honestly, kindness is everything in this world and everything that this world needs. So yeah, these are the two major things that I would like to share.
I love your message. It's beautiful. Do you want to share anything else, Rasika, before we close?
I just want to say, Alina, I think your show is brilliant. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy about the fact that I got introduced to you through such a wonderful platform like World Pulse. I would love to be a part of this in the future if you would have me, and also just collaborate with you on anything that comes up, because I'm in awe of, you're so inspiring. I would like to end with that.
Of course, we're going to collaborate. Thank you very much, Rasika, for all that you have shared and you're doing.
Thank you.
And I wish you all good wishes for all you're doing. And thank you to our viewers for being here. And I appreciate your comments, your feedback, and your wonderful support. And I want to say goodbye for now and see you in another edition. Bye, Rasika. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Bye, Arina. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Arina. Bye, everyone.
Bye.